Hello, fellow female activists. How are you? Cathy, your wellness coach. And today we're on our wellness playlist and we are talking about movement. And in the consecutive videos for movement, okay, so it'll be like every, like, what, 6 weeks or so, we're going to be in a series called Safety in Motions, because that's the company, Safety in Motions High-5 Techniques. So today we're talking about your basically the premise, okay, of the High-5 techniques, and then one of the 5 techniques, okay? So before we start our wellness, though, playlist, we always go with our positive quotient repetitions or PQ reps, okay? So I'm standing, so I'm going to stay standing. But you can easily be laying down, you can be sitting, doesn't matter, but you can stand as well. So, with that said, I'm going to close my eyes. You don't have to. If you're new here, especially, hello, subscribe and subscribe and like. But if you're new here, welcome. And again, every time we start one of the wellness playlist videos, we always go into our positive quotient repetitions or PQ reps, and that gets us more into a sage mode, so to speak. So here we go. So, regardless if you're sitting, standing, laying down, you're going to find and feel free to close your eyes if you wish. You're going to find your feet somewhere, um, if you have feet, and then go ahead and press all 4 corners, okay, into the surface that they're on, if you can, and really feel all 4 corners of those feet, okay, grounding you down. And then think about your spine being long. Now, with your feet, again, still all 4 corners of them nice and firmly on that surface, lift your toes, even if you have shoes on. Lift your toes and spread them. We don't do this often enough. Go ahead and feel that sensation of your balance now being challenged, even if you're sitting. And then go ahead with the toes still nice and spread, and go ahead and put them back down. And now you should actually feel more energy coming from your whole foot now, and then coming into your body. Really feel grounded. And now that you feel grounded, let's go ahead and concentrate on our breath. So through our nose, if you're able, go ahead and count 4 breaths in through your nose. So inhale for a count of 4, and then exhale through your nose for a count of 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Inhale through your nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale full 4 through your nose. 1, 2, 3. And wherever you're at, if you close your eyes, go ahead and blink them open. I feel more centered. I hope you do. So obviously I'm in a different setup for sure. And that is because what I'm going to show you takes me showing my whole body. So you have a clear version of what you're seeing, a clear view. And yes, I still have from the early 200s or 2000s when I learned this. I still have the original. It's not the original. This is a copy of the original. But I forgot the original, but I had a copy. So I made the copy, which is fine. So I'm actually using the original little tag along card that I learned these techniques from. So Safety in Motion is the company, or at least that's the whole program that is taught. And I learned this in a previous life when yes, I was a cast member at for Walt Disney. And that's all I'll say about that. Now that we're in fascism, right? And the mouse, unfortunately, decided that it was more important to bow to fascism than it was to stay independent. So, with that said, that's where I learned with those. So I went through the whole program, okay, and then obviously, um, I liked it so much that I actually started to teach it. Okay, so I facilitated what they used or still probably still call Disney University. And so I was then, again, I had my regular magic that I created backstage. And then I also facilitated when I wasn't working my regular gig, I taught new cast members, okay, these techniques. So, Safety in Motion is the overall program. I forget the name of that company. It's right here, and I can't say it. But anyway, they probably don't want me to say anything anyway. But so Safety in Motion is the whole program, and then we come into the High-5 techniques. So there's 5 techniques. So this is about ergonomics, and this is very important, especially, right? Let's say you are in a very vigorous job, okay, or whatever your career entails. There's a lot of movement. Um, in which case I'm going to hopefully um, reiterate over and over again how important it is to be aware of our body and space and how to better use it. And these might be completely new to you. Maybe you heard in different ways and forms how to use ergonomics. Okay, I was also trained in ergonomics. So not only was I trained in these techniques, but I was trained on how to set up someone's desk, right? So that it's optimal when it comes to your body. Okay. So again, for the next 5 different movement uh, videos in the wellness playlist coming out, you will be learning about, again, the High-5 techniques through the Safety in Motion program. Alrighty, so the first, okay, of which this is the first of 5 videos. This is about positioning your elbows closer. So to begin with, okay, there are 3 zones, okay, when it comes to how you want to position your body, okay, in particular when you're thinking about your elbows. And you can kind of think of this as kind of like the overall understanding, okay, of the 5 techniques is the fact that you have three, okay, or three, 3 different zones. And at any one time, you could be in any of those 3 zones. Our goal, okay, as individuals who want to be able to move freely for as long as possible, is to always try our best to stay in the green zone. So the 3 zones are green, yellow, and red. And you can kind of guess, think about the stoplight, right? There's 3 colors, green, yellow, and red. Well, this is the same concept. Whenever possible, we want to be in our green zone, okay, for mostly any type of, you know, task that we're performing. We can also be in our yellow zone, which isn't ideal, but it's okay. And then we have our red zone. Now, let me just preface this right now. There are often times when we're going to be in our red zone or our yellow zone. And it's not to say that we don't want to try and get out of them as quickly as possible, but oftentimes we are in those 2 other zones, but we do so in a very short instance. And so we're not going to put a lot of stress on our body. However, right, we want to always consider how fast I can get out of those 2 zones and get back into my green zone. Okay. The same is going to go whenever you're talking about the rest of those other the High-5 techniques. Okay. Cumulatively, our goal again is to always think, how can I stay in my green zone? And your green zone, again, is the idea that your elbows, okay, are never more than 6 inches away from you. Okay. So ideally, this is the green zone. Okay. Your elbows are close to your body. Okay. And then that means wherever I'm going with my body, that I'm always in the green zone. Now, again, presuming that you have the ability to move your body, okay? Again, green zone means that my elbows are always closest to my body. So wherever I'm going, okay, whatever I'm doing, my elbows are close to me. And that is ideal for our body. There is no torque, there is no pressure, there is no stress on our joints, supposedly, other than gravity pushing down on us, right? That could otherwise hurt us. And so the green zone, we always want to be in our green zone. All right, the yellow zone. So the yellow zone means that now my elbows have come out a little bit further than that 6 inches. Okay. And I'm going to read from my little card here, make sure that I'm getting this all right. Okay, so you always want to position your elbows closer. That is the premise of this first high-5 technique. Position elbows closer. Why? Elbows 6 inches closer to your side can cut the force in half. I'm going to read that again. Elbows 6 inches closer to your side, okay, can cut the force in half. So whatever that force is, let's say that I'm trying to pick this item up and it's really heavy, or I'm trying to push this, whatever that task is, I have now cut the force in half by coming closer to it, making sure that the elbow is as close to my body as possible. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right. So how do you do that? Well, you set up work in your green zone. Okay, so this can apply to anything. Maybe you're gardening, right? And you're on your knees. Well, guess what? The same applies. You still want your elbows close to you, okay, close to your side. Maybe you are cleaning, okay, maybe you spilled something, so now you're mopping or whatever the case is. Again, the closer the elbows are to your torso or to your sides, the better. So set up your work in your green zone. Step closer, okay, before you lift, push, or pull. That could be meaning that you're going to have to move obstacles out of the way, or you walk around the other side, okay? So many times we're so freaking lazy, okay? Because as humans, quite literally, our brains want the easiest way to do something. And so it thinks about shortcuts. Well, sometimes those shortcuts aren't in our best interest, okay? So thinking in the green zone is not our natural state, but I want you to start thinking about it. So walk around to the other side. Okay, so that was another way, right? To bring a load closer. Slide the load closer before you lift. Okay, let's say again, it's something heavy. Well, don't grab it from here, get closer to it, right? And then change the way you carry something, all right? And then finally, use one arm to support the other, the rest of your body. Okay, so that's the premise of the whole position elbows closer. So imagine, okay, so this is me, and let's say there's a lot of ice, and it's an ice chest, and I want to pick it up. Well, my green zone is telling me this is probably the best location, okay? Look how close, right, the item is. Now, if it was out here, I technically am a little more than 6 inches. So I'm more like, I believe in my sides actually, my elbows are still by my sides, all right? But I'm putting stress, okay? The further the item is from my elbow, the more stress I have. Let me put it that way. So, per what I just read, if if I just simply get this closer to me, I have now reduced the force on my limbs by half. That's phenomenal. That means that I'm not working so hard, okay? And again, that means I'm going to have less chance of injury of some sort. So the green zone, okay, this would be my green zone, okay? And then I'm not really sure how far 6 inches is, but let's just say that now this is the yellow zone. The further I get from the object that I'm working to utilize, that's how dangerous it gets. Now, this is the red zone. Look how now I'm extended. Okay, so this now has to compensate for this lever, and that's not fun. You have put now instead of reducing the force by half of the strain of the torque, right? Now I've increased it exponentially. So you can think of it that way. Your green zone. Your green zone is basically 6 inches or closer to whatever object you're working to mess with. Pick up, slide over, push, whatever. The further out you get, now I'm getting to the yellow zone, depending on what I'm trying to do with the item, right? And then the further I am, now I'm actually in the red zone. I don't want to pick, even though this is empty and I could pick it up this way, okay, I am still putting a ton more pressure on any of my limbs, i.e., in particular, my joints. So my shoulder and my elbow, and then my wonderful wrist, which again, I already have carpal tunnel, so there is no way that I'm going to utilize my body in any other way other than as much as possible in the green zone. And because I have scoliosis, when I learned the high 5 techniques, it changed everything for me. I say that about yoga and I say that, um, about just about everything that I practice myself. But when I learned these techniques, okay, I have now probably saved myself a ton of medical bills. I have scoliosis, so I would go actually to a chiropractor quite often, at least once a month to get adjusted. And then when I got to learn how to use my body better, I didn't have to go so often because I wasn't putting my body under so much stress. Okay. So again, today we just talked about the difference between green, yellow, and red zones. Okay. So again, position your elbows closer. That is your first and only thought for the next, 6 weeks or however long it takes me to go through to get takes, because basically movement, right, follows a certain pattern. So we go through just so the newbies here, the cycle that we go through is hydration. Okay, so you'll see videos on hydration, and then you'll see a following video that goes to sleep, and then we go to nourishment, and then we go to movement, and then to mental fitness, and then those themes constantly recycle. So again, every time you come to a movement video, it's going to be the high 5 starting today, and then thereafter for the next 5 movement videos. All right, so again, positioning the elbows closer. That is the premise of this high 5 technique. You want to think about your body in space, okay, and what that means for the green, the yellow, and the red zones. When are you in the green zone? So that means the safest possible space between you and whatever task you have. Then you get into a yellow zone. Oh, could I maybe go around and get to something easier, right? Put yourself or stay in the yellow zone only if you have to. And then again, in the red zone, how can I not be in the red zone, right? Always put that thought process. Am I in the red? I'm in the yellow or I'm in the green zone. And don't actually perform whatever said task you're trying to perform until you're in the best type of zone, i.e., until you can get maybe all the way into the green zone. If that means you take longer to do something, then guess what? That's what you're going to do. So again, uh, this is the first of 5, okay? That's part of the safety and motion series for high 5 techniques. Okay. And this one was position your elbows closer. All right. And really thinking about, again, I'm in the green zone, the yellow zone, or the red zone whenever I'm trying to complete some task. All right. So with that, I look forward to getting some comments and questions with regards to this wonderful technique. And you can look them up on the internet actually and find them, their company. You can look up safety in motion and you'll be able to find the organization that way. But yeah, so I know this is going to help you and it's going to make a world of difference to your limbs and help you basically create longevity in your body. Okay. And especially maybe if you are dealing with a lot of chronic situations of your body, meaning that you have a lot of chronic pain, guess what? This is going to completely change how you move. And I know it's going to help you. All right. All right. With that said, take care, take charge, God bless, and we'll see you next time.